Alright, that's it. I'm just going to start over. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So we've done this once with clones. We've done this with cheapies. We haven't done niche yet. We're going to do niche. So if I was starting over, what's the first 10 fragrances I'm going for? Which ones am I going to grab and start the collection over with first? Obviously, this isn't the only 10, but this is the first 10 that come to mind. Like, yep, definitely got to make sure to get that right away because that smells too damn good to not get right away. So I have them compiled. Some of these will surprise you. Some of these you're expecting if you're a regular here on the channel. We're going to talk about them. Stay tuned. Starting with what has become my favorite from the House of Creed. This is Creed Aventus Cologne. So, yeah, I get it. People love Creed Aventus, and I'm a huge fan too. Don't get me wrong, but for me, Creed Aventus Cologne I think is superior. I love the substitution of this citric orange note versus the fruity pineapple. You get a vibrant and bright aromatic, slightly sweet, spicy hit from some pink pepper and a lot of ginger. It's much more musky, I find, but ginger, crisp, spicy ginger. I'm a big fan. Spicy orange, and you know, it's musky. It smells great. It's an everyday wear. Price per ml depends on your financial situation if you want to wear it every day, obviously. But man, this is such good stuff. Above average performer. I get at least as good a performance out of this as I do out of my bottle of Aventus. I get around 8 hours solid, even going beyond that in longevity. Very strong for the first 2 hours. It's literally about as versatile as they come. I think it's one of those Swiss Army knife fragrances, and it's one of the better aromas I've ever put my nose on. So it was kind of a no-brainer. The first one we're going to talk about here today is from Creed. It's Aventus Cologne. This next one is super fresh, continues to surprise me every single time I smell it. It's got citrus. It's got a beautiful fresh green and woodsy ivy note that's kind of puts it in the unique territory, though people online seem to relate the grapefruit at the top to Elysium. We're talking about Paradis de Sens Eden. I am such a huge fan of this one. This was my first outing with the brand, and it is an absolutely stunning high-quality luxury fragrance. Super versatile. I think it's perfectly unisex. This is a good one. It smells so good. Slight soapy, watery citrus with, like I said, this ivy note. Ivy leaf kind of gives it this fresh green feel to go with a woody nuance. It's almost a little floral in some ways. Soft scent, and I don't mean that as far as power and performance. I mean, it's just so smooth, easy going, nice in the warm weather, but very relaxing in the cooler weather. I think you can pull this one off year-round. Performance is great on this one. Easily 8 to 10 hours on skin, and it's very present without being overwhelming. Just a fantastic luxury scent. Just one of the first ones that came to mind. I would absolutely have to get my hands on Paradis de Sens Eden. Now with this next one, it's from the House of Argos, and it's not the one you're thinking, because I fell in love with this one. This is one of the newer releases, and yes, Triumph of Bacchus, I would absolutely have to get that sooner rather than later. But based on wearability, Birth of Venus is where I want to start. I've been reaching for this one more weeks than not since I got it. This is, I mean, first of all, look at the stunning presentation here. But as far as the scent profile, it's basically fresh and more citric Adonis Awakens. It's got the raspberry, rose, Mysore sandalwood smell. Like it's got that thumbprint, but with peach and different citruses. And it's just so much more fruity. There's a little bit of a dark chocolate essence to it, light sea salt. Just beautiful. This is the true fresh fragrance from the house. It's marketed for women, but not all that feminine. Perfectly unisex fragrance, great performer, great year-round. It's got enough density and oomph to it to cut through the cold if you want something on the fresher side. Complexity and depth to the scent to really, curve the, the sweet tooth, if you will, with not necessarily sweet, but curve the itch, scratch the itch for complexity for the enthusiast, I guess would be the better way to put that. And just overall freshness to work well in the heat. I mean, it's pretty much got it all. So I kind of would need to start with this one from the house. Even though they have a phenomenal set of offerings, Triumph of Bacchus is still my favorite. But as far as wearability, man, for me personally, Birth of Venus, it takes the cake. This next one is the only fragrance I've ever given a 10 out of 10 overall grade in a full review. It is from Roja Parfums. This is Isola Blue, the successor to Oligarch Parfum. Such a huge fan. Look at the gorgeous tone of blue as well. Such a fan of this fragrance. Green, sweet citrus, thick, dense citrus, a little hint of coconut, but not much on the coconut side of things. Some fresh greens, a lot of woods here. It's got kind of this tropical feel without being a typical tropical fruity fragrance, if that makes sense. Very versatile. Hyper versatile, if you will. There's a hint of fresh spice to this, a light fresh spice accord, musky and woodsy. Masculine without being overdone and to where ladies can't wear this one. Best of house for my particular taste. Naturally the one I would have to start with. There's many more that I would want from this particular house. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, it's one of those things where I got to start with what I deem for me personally is the best of the best, right? And for me, when it comes to the best of the best from Roja Parfums, Isola Blue stands on a mountaintop all its own. Now, some of you regulars of the channel are waiting to see if and when this is going to be here, but I mean, you saw it in the thumbnail. So you're just wondering what spot it's in. But Vertus Vanilla Oud, one of the best smelling fragrances I've ever put my nose on. This is magnificence. This is elegance. This is captivating. This is sensual and intoxicating, alluring. All of these super flattering ways to describe this fragrance. It deserves all of that and then some. Roasted vanilla, kind of a burnt vanilla smell. I got to give it to Justin. The way he described that was perfect. First time I smelled this was on my friend Justin, and I had to have a bottle. I seeked it out immediately. Then I started helping, lending a helping hand and hyping this one up because it is fan-frickin-tastic. This is one that you got to like saffron. There's a nice warm spice from it. The oud here is not overdone, though there is a little bit of a funky, pretty enjoyable oud accord, to be honest with you. It's not overly musky. It does have a resinous, sticky, ambery type of smell to it, but very warm and spicy. It's a thick, sweet vanilla that's, like I said, smells a little roasted, kind of a burnt vanilla smell, a little bit of a smoked nuance, if you will, without being a super smoky fragrance, if that makes sense. Deep, rich, warm woods, like I said, helps to add to that resinous feel with this thick ambery accord that it has. This is just masterpiece. So good. This might be the first fragrance I would have to get, if I'm being completely honest with you guys, because it's just too damn good. It's Vertus Vanilla Oud. Now, this is a brand new release from 2023 that is, until further notice, and I mean, we're running out of time. It's my favorite niche release of 2023. It's from Vilhelm Parfumerie. This is called Faces of Francis. Faces of Francis, you have to like oddball fragrances. What do I mean by that? So, it's loaded with aldehydes and saffron in the top. So it's bright and effervescent, warm and spicy, while being heavily metallic, cold steel metallic. Amazing, though. Grilled pistachio gives some creaminess. There's oud listed, and I believe cypriol oil and things like that. But there's this lightly earthy, dry, woody nuance. There's no oud funk to this one. Like, had I not seen the note breakdown, I probably would not have guessed oud, because it doesn't have a typical oud smell. It's not a sweet oud, smoky oud, funky oud. It doesn't have a pencil shaving smell to it, really. Just a overall dry, woodsy, slightly earthy tone to go with creamy pistachio of all things. Saffron spice that never really goes away. Saffron's basically the star of the show here. A metallic nature that goes from the star of the show to a supporting cast member, but never really goes away. With aldehydes that start you off bright, start you off with a quick pop, and then start to slowly fade away throughout the life of the composition. This is just such a weird one, but such a good one. It's my favorite niche release of the year. I would absolutely have to get this one pronto. It's Vilhelm Parfumerie, Faces of Francis. With this next one, maybe there's recent wearing bias, because I wore this one last week and I kind of fall in love all over with it again, I guess you could say. From Parfums to Marley, we're taking a look at Layton. Layton is so, so good. There's hype on this one from over the years. It deserves all of the hype. Minty, thick minty geranium, fresh, fruity, crisp, slightly sweet apple, thick and spicy cardamom vanilla combo. It has kind of a roasted vanilla smell to it, kind of darker side of things with some woods. This is a goodie. Oh, this is so good. So good. Wife's a big fan. I'm a big fan. I just love living in the sillage of this one. I put it at my number 2. I recently did a live stream ranking 7 particular Parfums de Marley fragrances with Justin. This was my number 2. I forgot where it was ranked for him. I want to say maybe 4 or 5. For me, it was number 2 behind Cologne, which you would think, well, why not get Cologne first? I think there's some recent wearing bias here. Because this is just overall enjoyable. Cologne's another one of those oddball fragrances for me. That's kind of why I dig it the most. But I'd have to get this one first. It's just so much more enjoyable to wear. Just from a, brightening up my day when I smell it kind of front is where it comes from. So that's why I would have to pick this one. I would need something from Parfums de Marley right away because I love all of the ones that I have from them, especially ones like this, Cologne, Greenlee, Sedley, and Percival. I don't know why I was drawing a blank on Percival because I debated on putting Percival right here because that's a hit in this household as well. But I'd have to grab this one first, I think. Of course, I would get to those eventually, but in the first 10 niche fragrances that I'm getting, we're definitely getting a bottle of Parfums de Marley Layton. This should come as absolutely no surprise to anyone. One of the best do-it-all fragrances I think that's ever been created. We have Sidrap from Mancera, sharp lemon, sweet fruits, dry wicker basket full of woody notes and nuances. I don't get much leather. I don't get any smokiness. I don't completely understand why people compare it to Aventus. I get that it's a similar vibe, and there's some similar nuance, but it's its own thing. This is so, so good. I would take this over Aventus every time. Even over Aventus Cologne. I love this fragrance. I'm such an advocate for Sidrap. It's so good. It's so much more fruity and sharp and citric and woody. It's so good. And it's great for everything. It's not just good for everything. This is great for everything. Every season, as casual as you want it to be, as dressed up as you want it to be. It can pull compliments. It's got pretty good performance. Even newer batches. I don't want to hear any of that batch stuff and reformulation stuff. It's a damn good smelling fragrance. That's all I really care about because that's what sways me into wanting to get these first is the way they smell. I love the way this smells. It is what it is in performance, but man, this would be one of the first for sure. That we can't have this first 10 without this one because I think it's absolutely one of the best fragrances ever made, personally. But yeah, one of the first 10 niche I'm grabbing, Sidrap. And with that said, Mancera's put out some great fresh fragrances in the last few years. And for me, the cream of the crop with Mancera Freshies, it's French Riviera. I've fallen head over heels for this fragrance. That's right, we got back-to-back Manceras. I just love this fragrance. This gradients is such the vibe. It's watery, fresh, it's citric, it's a little powdery and creamy from some white florals. It's such a laid-back, casual vibe. God, I love this fragrance. In fact, this is the one that's going on skin. I'm not even spraying this one in the air. This is so good, guys. Get a sample. Mancera puts out carded samples. I don't know if it's made its way into any of their discovery sets, but you can get a sample. If not, you can find decants online. It's not going to be for everybody. Not everybody watching this that's going to take my advice and go try it. You're not all going to feel the way I feel about this fragrance. It's a very personal thing when it comes to how you feel about certain fragrances, and I probably like this more than just about anybody else that has it. That's how I feel. This is like up there for me. This is up there. It's such a vibe. It's such a great vibe for my current lifestyle. It just fits so many things for me perfectly that I have to get this would be one of the first ones. If I'm starting over and I'm grabbing 10 niche, the first 10 niche, it's got to be this. Even right there beside Sidrap because it's just that good for me personally. So laid back, great performer. I've gotten my share of compliments in the the 6 or 7 months that I've had this one so far. I love it. I absolutely love it. And again, I encourage you to sample it. No guarantees you're going to love it the way I do, but I highly doubt you won't like it. It's definitely some good stuff. One of the first ones I'm having to grab is Mancera French Riviera. Last but most certainly not least, there's argument that, oh, this is just a higher quality designer house. Oh, this is niche. Call it what you want. I look at it as The main thing offered from this particular house is fragrance. It's high-level luxury at an relatively affordable price for the level of what you're getting here. But for me, Zaharoff Signature Rosé, one of my true loves in my collection. I mean, this has the biggest dent of all the bottles we've looked at here. I absolutely adore this beautiful, sweet, smoky rose. Warm wood, doesn't come across too funky on the oud. It's more of a dry, warm wood feel. You got sugar cane and vanilla bean, and it's not super sweet. There's a sweetness here, and depending on your skin, it's sweeter than it is on me. Because like it's a sweeter rose on my wife, it's sweeter on Justin's skin, it's sweeter on George's skin. On me, the incense screams off of my skin. It's a very, very, very smoky rose. This one's going on the other hand. This one deserves a spray on skin too. It's so intoxicating. I've had people more than once stop me in my tracks. Once at a grocery store, once at a Sam's Club. Those two immediately stand out in my mind. They had to know what I was wearing because it just smelled so good. My sillage smelled incredible, and I don't blame them. I love this fragrance. It's my favorite from Zaharoff. I take my two creations that I've done in collaboration with the brand completely out of it. Just the house releases. It's the one, guys. It's so the one. It's not for everybody because it's very much a variety of rose. There's even some peony. There's a little bit of pink floral going on here. But for what it is, it's actually quite masculine because you do get a certain level of light spice to it with a lot of incense. At least I get a lot of incense on my skin with a little bit of that warm wood oudy smell. Nice and ambery. It's like glue. It'll fade over time, and as soon as your body heats up or a little water gets in contact with the oil, it comes alive again. It's magnificence. It's my favorite fragrance that Claude Deer has ever created, aside from the bias of evening mystique and business over pleasure. You take my two fragrances out of it, it's my favorite thing Claude Deer has ever made. Shout outs to Master Perfumer Claude Deer. This is amazing. I would have to get this one quick, fast, and in a hurry. I have to have sprays available at all times because it's that good to me. It's a Zaharoff Signature Rosé. Well, if I'm starting over and I'm grabbing 10 niche first, this is the 10. This is the 10 I would go for. Some of these may have surprised you. Some of these were obvious no-brainers that some of you expected to see. Again, not the only 10, just the first 10. And until next time, do me a real quick favor. Go ahead and like, comment, subscribe. I do appreciate all the feedback, and I love hearing from you guys. If you were starting over and you were grabbing a few niche fragrances first, which ones are so special to you that you'd have to get these first? Not necessarily the only niche fragrances you're going to get. You're starting over building your collection. It's going to evolve just as collections typically do. But what's the first ones you're going for? Let me know down in the comments. And until next time, I will say if you get your hands on any of the 10 that I would start with and you give them a spray now, if you got taste similar to mine, I'm pretty sure you'd thank me later. Have a good one, guys.